Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Pete Dogger and I'm building the Mears Models F86 and I'm actually gaining some headway on my cockpit kit and installation, and basically what I'm doing here now is making sure that the seat is properly set, and I did build it. It is pretty much done at this point. And I'm getting ready to get some other pieces and parts in here so this fits tightly. And that means I'm going to do a little bit more fabrication. Now, I've got a lot to do in this kit. And as a lot of you guys know, I love to scratch build my pieces. And nothing is actually glued in at this point. Getting everything to slide in, the tape is for clamping. What I'm doing is getting ready to cut these for guides and such, but I did do some detailing in this nap. This piece, I'm using it to check the clearance on the seat, and getting it in and just perfect has been kind of a deal, but you got to make sure it's not really riding on anything, otherwise it's going to scratch the windows up. And it's kind of one of those deals where you just got to kind of play with it until you get it right. And now the seat is not glued down and it's not sitting exactly where it needs to be, so I'm sliding the canopy back and actually reaching in here and setting that in to where it goes, and then actually before that is actually glued into its final position, I'm just getting it set and then kind of going through and touching it up here. Now, the seat is made by iFly Tilly's, and I had him actually go and print these out to quarter scale because there just aren't any quarter scale F86s out there. There's other parts and components and things like that, but not a lot of the things are actually there yet. Anyway, as you guys know, this is all built with intentions of getting all this set up. Now I'll be using a lot of production paper, and what that is just really super hard faced stuff, and I will be actually gluing that into areas. This is going to get some body work done in here, and then I will paint all of this in here under that black. The rest of this is going to be this gray, and as you can see, I've already touched it up and done all the other pieces. But once you get this in and it's not actually riding, that's your money shot right there, and that's what it looks like. Now the pilot, I'm going to go ahead and set him in here real quick and show you guys a little bit more of what is actually going on in here, and then show you what I've done on these parts. They're just sitting there, nothing's glued, and then I may go ahead and start gluing some of these parts in. I got some conduits I want to do and paint them silver and little things like that. Now I'm going to actually be taking some plastic struts and actually going and actually gluing and laminating this to build up this corner in here, and this stuff does, and I'll use a couple layers of it, and then I will cut out, and I'll use a little file and sharpen this up a little bit. Then we will go through, and then we will paint the inside of this black again, and this is just about the right thickness, and that just to go, and just so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. This stuff molds very easily, so I will do this on the inside of it, and that will give it that lip like the real thing does, and it really does actually finish up this edge really nice. If I can do this one-handed, I will. But anyway, what this is going to do, I'm going to do 2 layers on that, and I'll just glue it in there and clamp it and go through and do 2 of them. And this will give this that lip around there. And then I will go back and I will sand this all completely flat, add the guide pins, and just go through and finish, because this has not been sanded or nothing. I'll pull it apart before all this is done, and I'll add panel lines in here and this and that as I've done up here, and then we'll go ahead and paint the inside of this, and then we can go ahead, once all that's done, we'll start by actually putting in screws in the windows. And now these are 3mm screws, if I can find one. I don't know I'll have to look it up, look for them. But they're actually the same. I don't know what the millimeter sizes of them are, but they're about the same as these. And we're going to go in and we're going to bolt them in so that you actually see the bolts on in here and around here and throughout the thing. It's just more detail. And this window, again, I've got new ones. I've got a couple of them. And these I'm using strictly as patterns. I will simply put them over the top and then carefully cut out the new ones to fit in there. So I'm not worrying about all that, but I've got a lot of sanding work and things like that to do this. We've got a lot of little details to do and quite a bit of little things. Now the HUD is lighted and it just sits right on top. And as you can see, just with that alone, with everything else I built in here, it adds some pretty nice little details. And then I'll come back and touch things up and get them all set up and go in with a marker, touch these up, hit a little black in areas like that. And I'm not going for completely clean. I'm going for this to look like a war machine because it's what it is. It's supposed to look used up and beat up and this and that. And we will do some filling and little things and little touches up, and I'll just brush touch them. But as you can see with this, this is coming along very nicely and looks good, and it does close very nicely. So, but in order to keep it doing that, and this tape is for the clamps, it'll just come right off there. These were all just pieces and parts I put in here just to get everything to kind of really go, because I want you to be able to look in here and see little things. And I am going to be putting a couple little things in there, just like, you know, just odd and end LEDs through it and stuff like this and that. Then again, sometimes I think maybe I don't want to do it because the pilot is automated. He just sits right in there, and I'll show you that real quick. Actually, it looks really good with the pilot in there. It adds a lot of, the pilot does, give me 2 seconds, I'll stick them in there, talk to myself, enjoy the darkness. But anyway, I think some of the biggest things with looking at a lot of these jets and things is that there are a bazillion different things you can do just to get these things awesome. And your pilot is one of your biggest things that really needs to go. Sorry about that. Anyway, having your pilot sitting in there with this, and then this stick, which I have not painted up yet. I'm going to set it in like so, right about where it goes, right in there. And then once you see what he's up to in there, you get the sense that he's ready to go off and do whatever he's going to do. Now, with the hood closed completely and everything there, you'll see once he's moving around, it looks completely awesome. I mean, just that and a pilot, and without even the side panels installed yet, this jet's got a lot of things. When you go up and you look at it, you're seeing a lot of really cool things in there. And that's a 15-inch pilot, and that's I forget where I got him. Got him from iFly Tilly, so I'm not sure which pilots or what that they use and all this and that. But once you get in there and you start seeing it, and the canopy hood is the canopy's actually slid back, and he's looking. You know, he'll be looking around and doing other things, and should be pretty cool. These are the instruments that I'm using, guys, and they're actually very nicely detailed. And get them to focus up here. They're actually very much readable at this point, and they take some time to do. And some of these, like this one, actually does look three-dimensional, and they are very nicely done. They're kind of photo shot on there, and I have 2 different sizes. And so what I'm going to be doing here with this, so this is actually construction board. I'm only using this photo for references, and I'm actually going by other drawings and other little things that go in just to make sure that what I do actually get in there is actually really cool. This is more than detailed enough for me. I do have the throttle quadrant coming. That is something that just kind of needs to sit over there. And then I've got other parts that'll be in here and over there. And when you look in, there'll be other dials and things like that. This will all get filled, not a big deal. And I'll do that before I put any of the other stuff in. And then I'm using just regular, this is the shade of gray that I'll be using for the interior. And I'm just using Testors enamels. And they work really good for detailing parts and everything else like that. As far as paint, I'm just using $2 a bottle. Testors paint works great, no issues. And so, and as you can see, a lot of this looks good. There's a lot of dust on it, you know, and it's pretty dusty in here. But a lot of the things I did in here, I don't want this looking perfect, and I don't want it looking like it was bought out of a, I don't want everything looking like it was bought out of the, you know, I just don't want a cockpit that looks like everything everybody else has gotten. And that's more than understandable, but when you look back at it, the jet looks amazing with all these things. And there's other little things I've done in here that are just, it's just cool. And this is good enough for me. And with what else I'm going to do to it, this is going to be the money shot on this. It just kind of needs to be. And we'll do some sanding, a little bit more body work on the inside of that before we install the actual dash and the seat and all this other stuff. And then we'll get this part of this jet wrapped up. This is one of the biggest things, but when you come back and you can actually look at stuff and see the instruments, this is really cool to me. And it just is, this is what needs to happen in here. So we'll get that. I'm going to start doing some other things on here. I've done some changes on some other stuff. I'm going to start working on it, getting the jet ready to basically get it ready for paint, which will take a couple more months. With my schedule, it's been crazy, so I don't know. I'm hoping to be done enough in here to be able to consider Top Gun and get that all done. And as I said, I've got a lot of screws and a lot of little things and things like that to put in there. But this jet is actually very cool. I'm really digging the way it's turning out. I love the ejector seat. And again, all these parts are Alex, and them from iFly Achilles has been excellent to work with. He's gone way over and above, you know, the Call of Duty when it comes to things. I mean, when you get in here and you look at all these parts, I mean, you're looking at a guy that's sitting in there that looks like he's actually going to be good. And once I have everything hooked up and everything in there, the head will move, and, you know, it's just going to be a very, very, very nice looking unit. And I'm more than happy with what I've done with the cockpit. This is something I really love doing. There are some colors that need to be changed in there. That's primer right now. And then we'll get the coloring done. And we might even do some washing on it. And I think really for the most part, the jet, I know the pilot's helmet is not correct for the era, but that's okay with me. I like that helmet. I'm going to stick with it. And we're going to just go with this and make this happen. So I haven't forgotten you guys. And once we're done, then we'll be very close to maiden, hopefully this spring, and just getting everything else done. It's just, right now it's time and getting other stuff ready to rock and roll, and rock and rolling isn't all that much fun sometimes with these things. So it's about getting everything kind of done and set up, and there's some adjustments that need to be made and finished up. But really the reality of it is that we're getting closer and closer and closer. And that's where it comes to. You're never really done with a scale jet or any kind of airplane build. You just kind of come to a point where you give up on it. But when I look in here, I'm seeing a pilot that looks like he's actually, I mean, once I get him all positioned and everything else, he's going to be looking like he's actually going to be flying this jet. And there's a lot of little things I'm going to put in here just to make it even more cool. And getting that kind of dolled up and fixed up is going to be even more of a part of this. I know a lot of this stuff doesn't look like it's completely scaled, but once it's closed, it's going to look amazing. So until then, I will see you guys in the funny papers. Stay tuned. And again, yes, this jet is for sale. Reason being for it is that we're buying a house, and I've just with my new job and everything else coming out, I fought off retirement, and I'm back to work, and I hit the ground running. And so I'm in that point now where I'm just gonna get it. I do want to take it to Top Gun and compete. I think it's got a real good shot of this of getting in and actually possibly winning the sport jet category. I mean, this is just where I'm at on it. There are things that are not quite scale on it, but there's an awful lot that is, and it's just a big, beautiful jet. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching for the last couple of years, and we're getting a lot closer, and slowly but surely, and as time prohibits, I will get in here and get this and actually get it painted and done in a National Guard paint scheme. And we're just gonna go with that and make it work. Until then, I'll see you guys in the funny papers.